about you guys.
She has a different voice and a different understanding.
Hello, I'm Audree Grubesic, and I am here with Mark Wille. Hi, Mark. How are you today?
Doing well, Audrey. Good to be here again.
Yes, it's so great because on Offsite Dirt, we started this new series called The Dirt. And The Dirt actually is our passive house, building science, high performance, all of these great techniques in building, right, Mark?
It's a collection. I love the name The Dirt from the very beginning. And the best part about it are the topics and the people that come through the doors.
And the great thing is we have two amazing individuals here today, and they just so happen to be a father and a son. And we have Dylan and Michael Ingui, and they have this amazing story. And with that, we're so excited to have them. Hello, Michael. How are you today?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having us on.
We're so excited. And Dylan, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
It's so nice to see both of you. It is an honor to have both of you because I really feel like you're really elevating and expanding our high performance and our passive house understanding and industry. I'm just going to actually start with Dylan. Dylan is 19 years old, and he is actually going to the University of Michigan to study urban technology. Dylan, why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself, and then please explain to the audience about this really cool major that's happening now.
Small correction. I'm so close to 19, but I'm technically still 18. But yeah, but other than that, I'm really excited about my time at University of Michigan. So I'm going to be entering into a major called urban technology, which is really interesting. I'm going to be the second year that it's running, which is very exciting for me. And it's really interesting because it kind of combines a lot of things. It really wants to look at the macro level of what it's like to and what we need to do to kind of revamp the infrastructure and development of cities a little bit more, because we have a lot of old cities in America, outside of America, everywhere, that we really just need to start thinking about the infrastructure. So I just love it because it touches on everything cities from an architectural level to a sustainable level, engineering, development. It really goes everywhere. And that's kind of what I love about it.
The interesting thing for our audience that don't know you, and sorry, 18, we're going to stay there. You can stay as young as you can, as long as you can. A lot of the people that may not know you, you were the world's youngest certified passive house consultant at 15. How did that happen?
So it was all honesty, it was kind of a blur because I was 14 and then I went to a conference in my freshman year of high school in Pittsburgh with my dad. And then like 6 months later, I kept thinking about that conference and it kept ruminating with me. And I just took the course just to see what would happen. And then I waited a few months to take the exam. And then I kind of just got the letter saying that I passed. So it was kind of just a week of taking the course. And then I would say like probably a week or so-ish of studying across the next few months, just whenever I had time off of school. And it just kind of fell into place, which is kind of the part that I really love about it. I definitely think note-taking it really helped me. A lot of notes. I have never taken such good notes in my life, but those notes were great. Yeah.
I love that. So this all kind of surrounds us. And Mark, maybe you could make a better introduction for Michael, who I actually just met at FIASCon this year. And you actually were the one that kind of connected me with Michael. So why don't you give us a little overview of your relationship with him?
I would say I cannot put my finger on what chapter we're at in our relationship together, but I can tell you when you meet Michael, you will learn that there are many more chapters to come. First, you get the Michael that's very present in the topic you're on. But then as you dive in, you realize that he surrounds himself with people that are very good at different things. So you have many greatnesses, and for simply putting it, there's a wonderful architecture firm in Manhattan. There's a global platform that allows the acceleration of Passive House. And now there's a marketplace for specifications and materials. Those are just 3. And I'm ready for more chapters. It's nice to have you here, Michael.
Thanks. That was a good intro. I appreciate that.
So Michael, we're going to jump in, and we were kind of having a little bit of a chat, and we were kind of discussing, for many people that don't know what Passive House is, can you first explain that?
Yeah. So it's basically a better building, period. And that's how we look at it in the office. A lot of our clients want a house that's quiet, especially in New York City, that's relatively bug-free, dust-free, has filtered fresh air 24/7. And they like those amenities. They want filtered fresh air 24/7. And many people don't even know to ask for those things because they didn't think filtered fresh air 24/7 in a relatively bug-free house in New York City was possible. So once they know they can have that, they want it. I don't bring up the energy efficiency or the fact that I turned my heat on for the first day yesterday. So when it turned 19 degrees, we still didn't need heat because it was sunny. We don't bring up those things with clients because they just assume they're going to get less. But what Passive House is, it's you get more without really having to deal with lots of crazy electronics or banana stuff. In fact, if you're not using heat, you don't get a boiler, you don't have a flue, you don't have thermostats that are on and control systems. I mean, so it's Passive House is just, for me, it's a better building technique.
So what kind of, obviously, I would think in my own, just in my own way of living and own way of being, obviously we want to live better. I love that you're an architect team and you can actually create a better building and a building that's more enjoyable, a better experience. And there is this technology or technique to creating a passive house. But what does that really mean? Does it mean like, there's your son was certified as in Passive House. People are wanting to live in a better constructed home and they want an architect to create that. But how do they know, or what attracted you into this industry to know that, yeah, I want to do this and I'm going to be building like this?
Yeah, that's a great story. So I did a house next to a person who was a builder at one point, Sam McAfee. Ken Levinson was the architect, and Sam was building a passive house and I wasn't. And I made fun of Sam for like 2 years, like for real. I mean, and Sam could do that, and Sam met me with me every week, and and he's telling me all this cool stuff, and I'm just like, it's not going to work. And of course it worked. It worked incredibly well. And right after that, I did everything I could to hire Sam. And after that, once you learn, and that's the thing about Passive House, it's just simply better building techniques. And that's why our contractors love it so much. You cannot unlearn the things that you've been doing wrong forever. And so, and they're simple things that make big differences. So with Sam, I realized we could follow this and I could have a guide. So I didn't have to be first because architects don't like failing. And, don't fail first, make better building. Yeah, don't fail first, make better building second. And so our next building was a LEED Platinum Passive House in Manhattan, in a landmark district. I mean, all of our buildings are actually in historic buildings. All of our buildings, you would never know it was a Passive House. It's you can't tell. Landmarks wouldn't allow it. We've got 14 or so of them now, and we just liked it because it provides a better product and with relatively simple techniques once you learn them, and that's what the certification is really helpful for.
Okay, so the LEED technology or the LEED certification is what you have to abide by these many techniques, or how do you get LEED certified? How does that happen?
Well, yeah, so the Manhattan house was LEED Platinum, so it was LEED certified, but it was also Passive House. Two totally different paths that should really combine. There you go, Mark.
And maybe they will. Maybe
there's our
you
next
will make
chapter,
that
Mark.
happen next.
Is our next chapter, Mark. But anyway, and honestly, a lot of the architects and builders who are doing one are already doing the other. So it's an easy one. It's another thing where you've got two certifying bodies with very similar people working below them. So they should just combine. So really what you've got with the passive house is you have to start designing things that don't have thermal bridges. So, I've got my coffee cups is perfect, which I'm holding with my hand, which I can, because the heat's not making it through because it's insulated and it's a thin metal cup. So doesn't have a thermal bridge. So it's designing things like that and knowing how to create a sealed house and just the techniques around it. Learning those things and having a passive house consultant help you with them, because you can over insulate a house. So everybody thinks, a passive house, you must have like thousands of inches of insulation, and I can't open my windows. And well, we have bigger windows than we could have otherwise, especially on the north facades. And then and we only have 4 inches of insulation or less on our front and back walls because we've got old brick that you just cannot over insulate. So it's just, again, it's learn techniques. And for us, and Mark was right, I've been really lucky. I've gotten to know some really, really talented people that we work with a lot who help us to get these houses to where they are. And right now we're working with Ed May and John at Building Type, Kramer Silkworth, working with Kevin Brennan, who's taught most of our contractors how to do this stuff. So again, once you learn it, you cannot unlearn it. And it's simple things like the joist that hit the front wall. We always used to tie it tight into that wall, and because our structural engineers told us to. But if we just move it off the wall by like one layer of insulation, tie it in with a couple of bolts here and there, those are my only thermal bridges. The cold never makes it into the house. But that radiator that was sitting there was doing 40% of its work to heat up all that stuff. Doesn't have to be there anymore because it doesn't get cold. So it's like little things like that are like, oh my God, for these many years I've been doing it wrong. And I love it when the contractors learn it, because all of a sudden they get addicted. Like, what else can I do? What else can I learn? It's a fun experience for everybody.
I love this. So tying that last phrase up, what else can I learn? That might be the shirt for next week. So in just a few days, freshly in from Germany and arriving in New York, you're off to Michigan. What do you think will be the most exciting thing in the coming semester, Dylan, that lands on your desk that passes in and out of your headspace? What do you think that's going to be this semester?
I have no clue. Honestly, I think it's just going to be kind of going to school itself. It's going to be my first semester at college. And although I can sit here and say, like, I am like passive house all the way, I know that there's going to be at college, like, especially because it's University of Michigan. It's a great school. I'm so happy I got in. It's incredible. But I just know there's going to be that one thing when I get there where it's going to be like, holy shit, how did I not know about this sooner? And it's all going to click and it's all going to connect and start to come together. And I don't know what it is, but when I do, like that'll be the answer to that. But I feel like it's just like the whole experience of going to college with a bunch of other people who are like me and who are as tenacious as me and who want worlds like Passive House to succeed as bad as me, and learning what their world is. That's kind of what I'm really interested in and looking forward to at college.
That's great. The future connectivities that happen and learning the brain patterns of all the other folks that have that tenacity like you have. It is so true. And every semester is going to take on a different path. The whole embodiment of the program to focus on existing buildings and existing infrastructure is phenomenal. How wonderful is it that happens to be created at the time when you're looking for a program to jump into? Like, talk about an intersection of roads. Could you be happier?
It's like, I saw it and I remember I've made fun of University of Michigan for as long as I can remember. Like, it's like day one, like I popped out of the womb, screw Michigan, worst school ever.
Because of me.
Yes, because like half my dad's office goes to University of Michigan.
So
yeah.
We have a little rivalry in the office. Half of us are Michigan. My partner's Michigan. I'm New York Tech. And
Yeah.
so of course, you got to make fun of each other's schools.
Yeah.
And then both my kids, his twin brother goes to Michigan. He's already started.
Yeah.
He's doing opera and political science, and or vocal and political science. And they both went to the school and they fell in love with it.
Mark, I
Oh
can't
my
explain
God.
to you how pissed off I was. I've been making fun of this school for 18 years. I get accepted. I visit the school and it's stunning. And it's exactly what I want it to be. It checks like every single box and more. And I was furious. Oh my gosh. But
It really doesn't help with the rivalry at the school, at the office anymore. It's
yeah.
The Furious moved, it's all energy, right? Furious is energy, but now it's excitement. And when you came back, I invite people to go and look at your pictures that you post online. When you came back and you had chosen Michigan, you got shirts for everyone and made them wear it and made this really exciting announcement. It's probably the best announcement the university's ever had. And like some shirts that you wouldn't necessarily expect someone to wear, it didn't matter. Whatever you thought was creative, they wore it. It was exciting to watch.
I was very excited. Yeah.
do you mean like Michigan Dad at the office the whole next day?
Oh my gosh. My favorite shirt. Yeah.
So
I
I
swear,
have a question. I have a question
Yeah.
for you two. What is the dinner conversations like? Do you guys ever have like these big theories of how Passive House is going to expand and how it's going to take over the world? Like, where do you think this is like, what, first of all, what's the conversation like and where are we expanding to?
I can tell you. So Justin, Dylan, and my wife Diane were all there when the decision was made to create the accelerator, and we talk about it. Maybe.
Okay, so wait,
Maybe
before you do that,
too
what
much.
is the accelerator so our audience knows
Oh,
about Passive House?
the Passive House Accelerator.
Right.
And
you did, and you started that in 2019. And what is that?
So the Passive House Accelerator is a platform that allows people to describe their projects, interact. It's like a bit of a think tank. It's become a bit of a media company where we're doing magazines. We've got a weekly program. Mark is a huge part of it, and both as an advisor and as a host, where we get to talk about projects that have been done. So for me, using my experience with Sam McAfee that I described earlier, I didn't believe it. I don't believe anything. I mean, my world, everybody lies. I wish it wasn't the case, or it doesn't lie. They inflate the truth. But
There you go.
So for us, so with the accelerator on the live programs, it's people who have built that building. Here's how we did do it. Here are the products we did use. Here's how you can do it. Here's who you can hire. So every week we're doing articles. And we're doing live programming, and we've got great hosts and other people. They're all bringing in like really great ideas for interesting topics. So the accelerator does that. It's now directed by Zach Semke, who's honestly created the accelerator that is right now. I would love to take credit for it, but Zach Semke is one of those next level people who just knows how to put stuff together. And I created it because I really felt like it should exist, because we had a lot of factions that were siloed. Both here and throughout the world. I'd go to conferences, everybody has all these great answers, but they didn't have a place to share them. So we created it for that, and I wanted it to exist, but I was horrible at it. Oh my God. You just know what you don't know, and someone like when Zach Semke jumps in and all of a sudden everything magically comes together. So it was great. And then Sean and Monty brought us the idea of doing these live programs during COVID, and they were wonderful. So it's been a whirlwind, and it's addictive. It's kind of fun.
Dylan, what was that discussion around the table when your dad brought that idea to you guys?
I'll be honest, I thought he was a little crazy at first. But once I kind of like heard the business pitch a little more and started to like really think about like what that could mean for the community and the magnitude of change that it could have. Typically with especially me and my dad, like my mom and brother, they're not very passive housey. So when we get too passive housey, it's kind of like sit, stay, no more work, no, put it down. But like the accelerator topic came up and we just kind of never put it down because it was so exciting for us and it was such an exciting topic that after 5 minutes of us going, "You're crazy, be quiet, no, not going to happen," we started to kind of be like, okay, but what if it did happen? And what if we did this and that? And it just like, it's a never ending conversation that's continuously happening. And it's just so fun to kind of watch it grow from now the sidelines, technically, since I don't work for the accelerator anymore. But yeah, it's just been such a fun, like 2.5-ish, 3 years.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
What's funny is Diane, my wife, did the original PowerPoint structure for what it could look like. And it doesn't look so dissimilar now, which is great for the organization. And Justin was talking about how we could like describe it, what it should be called. So it really was kind of a family experience bringing it together. But it's been incredible now. We've got Mary James on board and a whole bunch of other people. It's been it's been a really fun experience. We've wanted a marketplace like this to exist forever. I mean, honestly, a decade. And I've tried to do this several times or something like it. But right now, John Knapp, who is my co-founder of this, is really the person running it. He's the perfect human being to do it because he's an attorney turned entrepreneur for a long time ago. He lives in a Passive Plus house. He understands the space. And what it is it solves, I mean, just to kind of tell a story slightly differently, the accelerator helps us solve a problem where we're creating one place where everyone can learn from all different sources, including other sites. And they can learn how to do a passive house. After that, the next question, and it comes up at every conference, is, oh, great. How do I get the stuff? How do I buy materials? How do I find stuff? And it's hard to do. So Source 2050 then solves that problem. It helps you buy everything in one place. So it's really very similar to an Amazon or other building or purchasing platforms. It lets you find a single place to find all the building materials. And what I love about it as an architect, I mean, I spend a lot of time not only sourcing my stuff, but I actually help lots of architects, even the ones I compete with, source their stuff because they can't find it. Like, Mike, what you use in that? What you use in this? And I'm like, here, call this person, call that person, call their cell phone because they don't have a great website. And it's just because we're an emerging market. So it's a place where you can easily find things. What I love most about it, which is kind of cool, is an architect can also create a spec list. So you can create a list of every product you'd want to have for your building. And then you could, when you put your project out to bid, you can give that to the contractor. So the contractor, especially the new contractors, don't have to get all freaked out that they can't find everything. And they know where to get it. And we have lots of competing brands on one site, which is also what makes it a little different from some of the other sites that are great and that I even use a lot, where we can start to compare some of these items. And you know, great companies like Rothelblas or Partel or some of the others, Purple Passives on here. So things that would be slightly more difficult to get to. So we're pretty young. We only launched at FIAS, and although we're focusing on obviously selling stuff, but really what we're focused on is having more companies jump on, and we're onboarding just a lot of companies. That's really the whole focus right now. It's how many companies can we get on, and how clearly can we identify the materials, and so you can create a more successful outcome for people.
I like the saving grace portion of it. In my eyes, is if you're a firm that wins or is competing on a project, there might be many. Not might be. There are thousands of questions you have to ask along the way, and so this rules out the search method because it's all contained together. And the name is as simple as it could be, right? It is the source for all this stuff. And, you know, it would be interesting. It would be exciting if, in fact, all the buildings replicate this system, because to have a shopping cart is such a time saver, not just for the firm and the studio aspect, but when they pass along this plan set, to now have that shopping cart made for all of the contractors and specialists and factories that are involved. This is something that when you see it, Audrey, you wonder, why didn't we have this before?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I love that. And I love the expansiveness of this and the unique thing of being able to put a plan set in there and trying to figure out how to achieve maybe a certain level or certain, certification. And we're actually going to have John Knapp on with Michael again in a couple of months so that we can actually go through and talk more specifically about that brainchild of Michael and John. But I want to kind of steer it back to this father and son team in an area that's continuing to expand. Dylan, for you, where do you see the future going? Where do you see us expanding, especially from such a young individual with so many accomplishments?
That is a fantastic question. All honesty, I think that for better or worse, the state of Passive House is going to change within the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to blow up. It's not really a matter of how or why. It's kind of just when for me. So when I look at myself and when I look at all the people in this community, like the only thing I can kind of be thinking of is how can we be ready for that? And how can we make it that when a little bit sooner? Because at this point, every year counts, every month counts, every day counts. And there's 8 billion people now, which is terrifying. And 7.9-ish billion probably have no clue what Passive House is. So my question is really going forward, how can we make it so that like 0.01% goes to 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 eventually, hopefully. Because that's really the area we should be going. We have a lot of people who really understand it, are really making a lot of great progression and learning a lot about Passive House. And we're still learning today, which is great. But at the same time, like when everybody else gets on board in 5 to 10 years, it's going to blow up and it's going to be crazy. And that's kind of my prediction.
I agree. And I think that with these new, with the UN and the 2030 energy conservation and, Source 2050 and being able to change existing buildings and make them more efficient, energy efficient, we have to start thinking about and changing our mindset to how we create these things. Michael, I ask you the same question. How do you see things evolving in the next, let's say, 5 years?
I mean, honestly, I think in the next 2 years, it's going to scale heavily. And there'll be an opportunity that the community will either be ready to meet or they won't. It's one of the reasons why we have been in such a rush to launch Source 2050. New York City Code, it's already changing. We've got Local Law 97. It comes in next year. Same with Massachusetts. Same with all these other cities. And creating infrastructure, both with the accelerator, and helping people learn how to do it, getting more certified Passive House consultants, getting more certified Passive House contractors. I think the community is poised to be able to really support that growth, and I think it will. I think there's lots of people who are waiting for this for quite some time, and thankfully it's coming, and thankfully it's just amazing that to have such a monolithic problem as climate change, and in the building industry knowing the answer. Like, the answer to the problem. Like, so many times we're like, oh, how do you cure this? How do you do that? And with the building industry, we have the cure. Now we just have to do it. And there are so many tools out there that will help you do it. So I'm pretty excited about what's going to happen in the next year or two. I think it's just going to be fantastic, and I think everybody's ready for it. Everybody's waiting. And so and doing. So it's good stuff.
My favorite 3 topics at the FIASCon that the 4 of us were at. The ballroom is filled with, just for people's perspective, somewhere around 640 people. The 3 topics were the panelized construction for new buildings and retrofits, the youth program, right? Dylan spoke and Matt spoke on, and then the existing building, just sheer amount. So I'm very interested over the next several months and year to see how all those 3 conversations land in our municipalities in our community conversations. It should be exciting. And with the energy being brought to Michigan and the energy coming from Michigan, I'm excited to see all the stories Dylan shares with us, because I feel like I'm going back to college now. I'm so excited for this new pathway, Dylan.
Me too.
Be careful what you share.
Right. You can never take it down. Remember, you have older people watching you.
Perfect role model. Got it. Okay.
Well, here's the thing that I see, coming from the offsite construction industry and knowing that we are just a 5% of the marketplace right now. And with the 5 million homes that we are in need of as of today, I do see this evolving into a manufacturing process. I do see this evolving into a panel system, or at least, like Michael was saying, using Source 2050 and being able to bring in a heat pump, being able to understand about thermal bridge, being able to understand how we can actually create a mini split inside a office space or a building to actually control, the electricity in the house, electrifying the house. So these are all techniques that we're starting to understand and implement. And my hope is that more of these manufacturing plants around the US that may be opening will start thinking about conserving energy, building efficiencies, and being able to have a healthier place for the people to live.
I have to tell you, I think it's happening. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's happening. It's fun to watch that happen as well. It is definitely a huge piece of the future. So it's going to be so much fun to see it develop.
Well, thank you, Dylan and Michael and Mark, for all being here today. Dylan, good luck. Good luck to your brother. I know you're going to do amazing things. We can't wait to see how it's all going to unfold. And Michael, thank you for continuing to be the trailblazer and creating products and institutions and awareness for us, because without you, we wouldn't be here today. So thank you, everybody.
Right back at you. Thank you.
And thank you.
And there you go. Another offsite construction conversation that brings in the dirt, energy efficiencies, building platforms, technology, passive house, and all the good stuff to have a great experience while you live. I'm Audree Grubesic, your host. I'm here with Mark Wille.
See you guys next time on the dirt.